Hello there, this is the Beluga Tunes podcast, and it's live. Once again, I'm doing a live episode broadcasting to my YouTube channel. So, hey everyone, thanks very much for deciding to either listen to or watch this. And before I start, I want to just go over one thing. In the previous episode, I forgot to read the credits for the clips that I played. So I'll just run through those. They were from Archer, You Talking You Two to Me, The Simpsons, Pete Moore, For a Few Dollars More, Game Grumps, and Hollywood Babylon. That was last week's. I've got this week's ones written down there, and I'll do that at the end, if I remember. So yeah. Also, I should really. There are a couple of things I need to get out of the way. A bit boring, but yeah. Since I installed the update for OBS, it's had the tendency to quit unexpectedly, and I'm very worried that might happen during this stream. I really hope not. It's annoying. I can't really say for sure whether or not it is going to happen, but I will keep an eye on that, and I'll try and make sure that I reconnect if it does, and hopefully it won't be too much of a problem. This is one of the exciting things about doing a live episode is, yeah, you never know what's going to happen. So yeah, the other thing is, hopefully the sound quality is okay, because I tried to do a pre-recorded episode earlier on in the week, and I recorded the whole thing, and when I listened back to it, there was all this crackling noises. And it's not the first time that I've experienced this with this microphone. This microphone's great, but for some reason, there's been that bit of interference, just on the odd occasion. Not every time, just every once in a while. Not great. Like it's something that's. I wish I knew what was causing it. It's adding this sort of crackling noise, and yeah. I could just ramble on about that for ages, but hopefully this is all right. What I might do, because I've got my iPad here, I'll just because I want to put my mind at rest. I'll just check the stream. Just plug my earphones in there. Sorry. So here we go. Current live streams. Okay, now I sound okay, so that's good. I'll also I'll have to plug that back in. So what have I got in store for you this week? I shall tell you. There's the usual 6-minute shout out, and at this point can't tell you exactly what that's going to be. For new listeners, the 6-minute shout out is basically when I talk about like a website or just basically, or like podcast or anything I found online, and one that I think is worth checking out that I really enjoy. I'm not going to reveal what this week's one is, but you will hear that very soon. Also for Podflix, I'm going to be talking about Shakespeare In Love, which I've actually done twice already. As I said, I was having problems with my mic, so yeah, I've already done that. You just haven't heard me talk about it yet, but that's the film. Yeah, it's just a randomly selected film every week. So yeah, Shakespeare In Love. That's what I'll do this time around. And you're also going to hear me reveal what the next one's going to be. I don't know what it is yet, but there will be another randomly selected film for me to talk about in the next episode. So yeah, there's that to look forward to. And I'm going to write actually, again, I've already done this. The next chapter of The Infinity Express. The Infinity Express is this story that I'm putting together, and it's all just taken from randomly selected words. And this one's pre-prepared, which is probably a good thing. I probably should actually do this. I kind of need to do it in advance for the live episodes, because when I do this pre-recorded, I can just hit pause, write the chapter, and then carry on recording. So you'll be able to hear this part of the crazy story, chapter 15 of The Infinity Express. And if I can remember what the randomly selected words were for this one, I'll read those out. If I, they're in there somewhere. It's all a bit crazy because, yeah, the last recording I did just didn't really work out, so I'm kind of picking up the pieces right here. But without without further ado, I shall advance to the first segment of this week's episode. Here we go.
I'll take 2 cheese pizzas and some crazy bread.
Now, there's another thing that I mustn't forget is I've got this new thing where I can change the picture. There we go on on my right. Pepper and carrot. That's this week's 6-minute shout. I didn't use the wheel sound effect, but never mind. There's just a little gimmick. So yeah, pepper and carrot. This is a webcomic. I will give you more details. Here we go. If I bring up the web browser here, let's go. Okay, you can still hear me, right? I hope so. Yeah. Now let's just get to some of the details. So this comic is by the French artist David Rivoy. Some information about him right here. So yeah, and it's basically about, let's see, they've got all the information we need right here in the wiki. About a young witch and a cat. So yeah, this is Pepper, age 14, place, her house in the forest of Squirrel's End. Her familiar, Carrot, a male ginger cat, curious and always looking for fun and entertainment. Hobby, studying magic lore, an inner paradox between trying to understand the mysteries of Chaosa and accepting what's already there. So that's basically a little summary of what these adventures are all about. Yeah, and I really wanted to talk about this because it's a webcomic that I've very recently become aware of, and it's really cute, and I should be timing myself because it's 6 minutes. I've got 6 minutes. How long have I been talking? Oh. Okay, so when it gets to 12, I'll stop. Yeah. This is one of my favorites. Episode 23, Take a Chance. And this kind of gives you an idea of what type of characters pop up in it. There's this genie with the face of a walrus, and he's the genie of success. Yeah, I love the way it's drawn. I love the style. It's really cute and it's really fun packed. I don't want to give too much away because it's worth actually reading this. I'm just going to scroll through some of these. And yeah, because I do cartooning. I kind of used to do a web comic. And one of the things, because I really like Carrot, he's really likable. And one thing I found from doing my own comic is it's really hard to make a character likable when they don't say anything. Because he's like a little kitty cat, and I love this. So this is quite visual because, like, for anyone listening to this from Apple Podcasts, whenever I do a live episode, there's going to be a lot of visual stuff. But it should be on my YouTube channel by now. And Carrot is just so cute and lovable, despite the fact it's all in his like expressions and his actions. But just everything about this I just think is adorable. So yeah, I just admire anyone who can convey, like, there's no dialogue in this. Like episode 20, The Picnic. There's a great example of just completely dialogueless action and comedy. You can see everything you need to see. It just works so well. And that's really hard to do. I've never really been that good at just doing visual stuff. Like when I was doing Beluga Weekly, there'll be the odd occasion where I would attempt to do an episode where there was no dialogue. That was like, it was like the rule of these episodes. Sometimes I would just be like, I'm going to try and do it without dialogue. And it never really worked out when I did it. It was, I'd very much like to be able to do that. I haven't done a comic for a really long time, so that might be something to work on. Because this is really inspirational. And just, it's so imaginative. And there are a lot of these. How many has he done so far? 24. And like there's like this whole world here. You've got so much stuff happening. Like I've only just begun to take a look at these comics. So yeah, there are some that I can easily recommend, but I think sometimes I'll do when I'm doing the 6-minute shout out. It will be something that I've yet to properly take in, and like I just hopefully I will get around to checking out all of these, because I think it is worth having a look. I think I had a look at this one earlier. Pepper's birthday party. So yeah, Carrot is like one of my favorite characters now. I just looking at it right now, I'm definitely recommending this. So yeah, I think that was roughly 6 minutes. I need to properly time myself. But yeah, so that's the 6-minute shout out. I'm gonna quickly move on. Let's get the next one up.
Dan has the most infectious smile. Every time I see it, I start smiling too. Thank you, Professor Fart Sprinkles.
Okay, so yeah, now it's time for this. It's time for the pod flick. So yeah, we need to get the so I'm talking about Shakespeare in Love. Once again, I can't actually play any clips when I'm doing the pre-recorded episodes. Again, I'm sort of pointing out the little differences. I can usually play a clip because if it's just going up on Apple Podcasts, it's not really a problem. But this is going on YouTube, so I'm not going to risk any copyright strikes. But yeah, I watched Shakespeare in Love, and I'd never seen it before, and I think one thing I can say for certain, and I'm kind of learning these things just from doing this segment for this podcast, the type of genres that because I felt like I'd seen a lot of movies before I started this podcast, but last time it was For a Few Dollars More. That was the film that I had to talk about for this segment. So one thing I've just recently found out, I'm more into these kind of films, these kind of weird romantic. Is it a romantic comedy? I don't know really. I kind of just I found myself enjoying Shakespeare in Love more than For a Few Dollars More, and I didn't realize until now I'm not really that into westerns, basically, because I think Clint Eastwood is very good. He was very good in those old films. But yeah, I thought it was funny how, because I wasn't expecting to enjoy Shakespeare in Love so much, because I've no idea whether or not it's accurate. I suspect that a lot of it is fabricated, mainly because like I literally didn't know. I'm saying this mostly because you got Titanic. That's a very similar kind of concept because it's loosely based on reality of something that did happen, but the love story part is, that's completely fabricated. So yeah, I would imagine that this is not how Shakespeare came up with the idea for Romeo and Juliet. And the funny thing is, I couldn't stop thinking about Twelfth Night, because part of the story is the woman he's in love with, she auditions for the part of Romeo. So she disguises herself as a man. So presumably that was inspired by Twelfth Night, that was one of the two Shakespeare plays that I studied in school, the other one being Macbeth. So I do kind of know, I know a fair bit about those two plays. So yeah, and it's funny because I think I've kind of got the same amount of enjoyment out of all of the Shakespeare-related films that I've talked about for this podcast, because I've done the 1968 Romeo and Juliet. I talked about Titus. Very different films because they're directly based off of specific plays. But I suppose Titus is very surreal, and it's stylistically it's not exactly consistent. I had a lot of problems with that one. Anyway, but this wasn't actually meant to be. As I say, I suppose it took some inspiration from various Shakespeare plays, and it's about the production of Romeo and Juliet, how it would have originally been. And to be honest, I just thought, for a start, I think it's a good sign when, even though I have a very short attention span, I was not giving it my full attention, but I was able to take it in. And because you can just exactly what's happening. It's kind of predictable, but I think that's why it's an all right film to just stick. It's on Netflix, so you can just stick it on, just have it on, do other stuff, and somehow you kind of get some enjoyment out of it without really paying an awful lot of attention. And to me, that's a plus. I actually think because I really tried to pay attention to For a Few Dollars More, and yeah, I just found with that one I wasn't really getting into it. There's nothing wrong with it. The reason I keep bringing that one up is because it really surprised me that was the one that I didn't get very invested in. But I think because that one is a much more subtle film. It's good for... I would be more likely to recommend For a Few Dollars More. I recommend that people watch it, even though it's not the kind of film that I get a lot of enjoyment out of. So with Shakespeare in Love, would I watch it again? Yes, but I don't know if I'd recommend it. I think I'd be more likely to recommend For a Few Dollars More, and I've said that enough times. Yeah, so that's basically all I have to say. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to open up any new windows on here. I'm going to get to the generator. Just give me a moment. Suggest me movie, so I can find out what the next one's going to be. Give me a moment. The Trouble with Harry, 1955. That's the first one. It's a Hitchcock film. I thought it rang a bell. I haven't seen it, so yeah. Alfred Hitchcock's The Trouble with Harry, the second Hitchcock film I've talked about for Podflix. Right, I'm almost ready to go to a commercial break, so yeah, look out for that one. I'm going to have to watch The Trouble with Harry from 1955 for the next episode of the Bloogatoons podcast.
I have fallen, and I choose not to get up. Hi, we're here on the street asking people about the Fump. Excuse me, sir, do you know what the Fump is?
The what?
The Fump. F-U-M-P.
Oh, I don't know, but it doesn't sound appetizing. I don't want any.
Isn't that the sound a groundhog makes when you run over it with your car?
No. Can you tell me what the Fump is?
Is it the enemy in the next Spider-Man movie?
I don't think so.
A clean-burning car that runs on pancakes?
What?
Isn't that the stuff the Nutty Professor invented?
No, that's flubber. The Fump. What is the Fump?
Ooh, it's a dog. I think it's half Great Dane, half Chihuahua.
Is that even possible?
Sounds like something you get from a cheap hooker.
Oh, come on, no. Doesn't anyone around here know what the Fump is?
I do, but I'm a paid announcer with a script in front of me that explains it.
Fine, fine. Go do your thing.
The Fump is the Funny Music Project. It's a website where comedy musicians post funny songs and parodies. New songs are uploaded every Tuesday and Friday. The songs are available for free download from thefump.com or automatically via our podcast feed. The Fump features some of the biggest names in comedy music from the Dr. Demento Show, including the great Luke Ski, Robert London Spav, Devo Spice, Worm Quartet, Rob Balder, Possible Oscar, Tom Smith, Raymond and Scum, Power Salad, Bob Ricci, Carla Ulbrich, Steve Goody, Paul and Storm, and Jonathan Colton. High-quality downloads and compilation CDs are also available. Find us at www.thefump.com or look us up on iTunes. And for behind-the-scenes discussions on the songs posted to the Fump, listen to the Funny Music Podcast.
Thank you. See, people, was that so hard?
So it is something you get from a cheap hooker. Look, the one I was with last Friday sold me a copy of the Volume 10 compilation CD.
Ah, I quit. I'm going home.
The Fump. It's not something you get from a cheap hooker. Usually.
Right, everything's going well so far. There's still time though. Okay, this next bit is the Infinity Express, chapter 15, I believe. So yeah, I can do this quite quickly because I've literally got it all here now. But I believe the words that I ended up with, because every time I write a new chapter of this story, I just start off with 8 words. Word number 1 was nondescript. Number 2 was private. Number 3 was clumsy. Number 4 was daffy. Number 5 was debonair. Number 6 was utter. Number 7 was truck. And number 8 was parallel. And that was lucky because this story is kind of about parallel dimensions. That was a bit of a coincidence. So yeah, I'll read what I wrote. I've got it all here. I'll just enlarge it a bit. Chapter 15. Lucas drives the train to a nondescript station. They aren't sure about leaving the train at this point. Do you think he's up to something? Whispers Suzette to Lisa. We can't be too careful, Lisa replies. Lucas tells them that he has a private golf course in this new dimension. He wants to play a few rounds, he asks cheerily. Shane gets excited. I love golf, he shrieks. You hate golf, says Teresa, rolling her eyes. I've seen you play. I will admit I don't play all that well, but it doesn't make it any less fun, he replies. After a few clumsy swings of his club, Shane manages to hit his golf ball. Unfortunately, by this time, Lucas has already reached his 5th hole. You're a daffy old sort, laughs Lucas. They stop for a cup of cocoa and talk about the group on the train. They may act like your friends, says Lucas, but what do they really know about you? Well, they know how handsome and debonair I am, replies Shane. It's an utter sham, says Lucas. They don't need you and you don't need them. Lucas puts the golfing equipment back inside his truck. He drives off, leaving Shane behind. Shane tells the others what Lucas said. Do you agree with him? Asked Lisa. I honestly have no idea, says Shane. I mean, we're all from parallel dimensions. That's a pretty big deal. Suzette shrugs. Well, there's not a lot we can do about it, she says. We're all lost souls wandering through different worlds. Pretty soon we're probably going to end up like what's his face? That guy that was with us earlier. What was his name again? Thank you.
Don't put this on your tape. Don't put this on your tape. Whatever you do, don't put this on your tape.
Well, the time has very nearly come for me to send you all on your merry way. Yep, that is literally it. That is literally the podcast. But yeah, that went quite well. It didn't crash. Probably gonna do it in this last bit. But yeah, right now I'm just gonna bring up the end screen for YouTube. Yeah, and I'm still recording, right? Hang on. Here I go again. Just making sure. Bear with me. So yeah, I appear to be online. My voice is coming through. I'm hearing the delay. Anyway, I shouldn't. I'll plug in my headphones. So before I go, I should make sure I do not forget to read. Right, these there are 4 of these I need to read, but it's very important that I do this. The clips you heard in this episode were from Game Grumps, Pete Moore, JonTron, and Weird Al, and I can throw those away now. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. My website is belugatoons.com, BELUGATOONS. There's also my Redbubble store, belugatoons.redbubble.com. You can go there to find t-shirts and mugs and all sorts of different things. I actually got myself an iPad case from there one time. My Twitter is at Belugatoons. If you were watching on YouTube, you would have seen that. Actually, that was the Belugatoons pod. That's my podcast Twitter feed. So if you go there, you can find links to the stuff that I've talked about, like the 6-minute shout-outs and all of that. I usually just retweet whatever it was that has the link in it. So yeah, this podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher, and Acast. And please don't forget, there's another podcast I am involved with. That's Video Gaga. And we haven't done any new episodes for a while now, but there are 20 episodes, so there's plenty there to listen to. If you haven't tried it out yet, then I'll just say there is. That's also on Apple Podcasts. So yeah, go ahead and give it that. Apple Podcasts is the same thing as iTunes. When I say iTunes and Apple Podcasts, same thing, really. I don't know why they decided to start calling it Apple Podcasts. You can still just go on iTunes and there it is. Like if you're on a mobile device, it does make it. That's just boring stuff. I'm really just rambling now. But yeah, thank you ever so much for listening. If I've forgotten to mention everything, then that's live episodes for you. This has been less than half an hour, so I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Thanks very much, everybody. Do take care. And bye-bye.